Hello and welcome back to Book and Page, the very last video for Season 2. Yeah, it is our Season 2 wrap-up video. Not going to be a long one. You've just waited through far too many 30-minute plus me talking about certain chapters of books. Place on the line. So, hi Tiggs. As always, Tiggs has joined us because I'm talking to the camera and not to her. So here she is. She'll join us for the wrap-up. She might lie down. She might walk around a bit. Inevitably move the camera. Welcome to pet ownership. Let's get into the wrap-up. So for Season 2, we technically did 6 texts. Though you'll notice here, of course, that I physically only have 5. The reminder being that we did Frogs and Wasps by Aristophanes, which for me were conveniently in the same text, which is nice. So, 6 texts ranging from children's literature to Greek, epics, Shakespearean, and more modern adult literature. And some of these really do pull together nicely. I liked doing Percy Jackson and the Olympians, #1, The Lightning Thief, followed by some actual Greek productions. That was pretty cool. And pairing together something epic with one of the original epics in Beowulf, also very fun. Pairing, of course, some comedies with a tragic comedy, fairly interesting. Altogether, I'm suddenly trying to remember if I've got all of these in order. Excellent. A fairly interesting combination that you've definitely got some essays you could write. So, of course, the first one we did was Percy Jackson and the Olympians, #1, The Lightning Thief. Modern day Greek gods, who are also the ancient Greek gods, and of course all of their many children who have to deal with the fact that the gods bonk almost indiscriminately. This was a fantastic one, not only for the modern accounts of the myths, but taking a look at children dealing with these issues. We kind of forget, especially in the Greek epics, half the time these kids grow up immensely quickly, but that's probably also in the physical sense, not just in, like, the emotional maturity that's necessary. And that definitely happens here, where it is the emotional maturity, and these poor 12-year-olds are just running around with everything on fire. So, fun conversation about how much we can trust the narrator on this one, how much you can trust adult figures versus your own, and of course, all of the parental issues. Next, we did Frogs, followed by Wasps. So rather than doing some Greek tragedy like we did in Season 1, we picked out some of Aristophanes' comedies. This one was pretty fun because both of them were also parodies of certain aspects of Greek society. Frogs being about Greek tragedy, and some of the political questions about Alcibiades are very interesting, and Wasps, of course, being about the system of law and voting in courts, and how it can be severely undercut. So, good laugh to have, but Aristophanes, throughout both of these plays, is very sharp towards those who would be in the audience. He has a tendency to get the audience laughing along with him, and then sort of shove a spoonful of medicine in their mouth right towards the end. So a fantastic run, and especially since even in the modern day, there are some things that we can take seriously from these texts. Wasps especially, but from Frogs, there's some interesting questions about our own political agendas and setups in the world. Third up, of course, was Beowulf. This one we had to do sort of 4 sections at a time, and as always I recommend getting the facing page translation so you can see the Old English it's written in. Well, this is one of the sort of big original epics. It gives us a sense of how episodic it often can be, but it also gives us a sense of certain traditions. The need to pass through certain liminal areas and gatekeepers to get any place, the position of women in these courts as peace weavers, and oftentimes as also a critical factor in everything falling apart, and of course how one's story is told and memory is kept alive, even after death. So a fantastic look into dragons, monsters, and how men fit into it all as both dragons and monsters and men. Whew. We always do some Shakespeare, she says on season 2. I make the rules. Fight me. And this time around we decided to do one of the odd ones out. The Winter's Tale doesn't quite fit into any of the categories of comedy, tragedy, or history. It's sort of a comma-tragedy. When terrible things go wrong, there's some hijinks in the middle, and then things kind of work out in the end. Kind of. This is an interesting play for the cyclical factor to it. How oftentimes this play starts over again, switching genres and switching focuses, and how certain characters who in the beginning were the bad guys become good guys in the end, when the good guys become the bad guys. It makes sense, I swear. Well, until we hit the very end, and then things don't quite make sense, and Pygmalion comes along, so we're good. And, of course, we ended the season with Charles Williams' The Place of the Lion, our adult fiction from the Inklings. This is a really interesting text when the Platonic forms, or possibly the angels of the Lord, come into the world as we know it and start wrecking things. Certain human beings do have a cadence with these beings and can communicate or get taken over by them, and there's a good deal of sexism just mixed in there. So while the first part of this text is pretty hard to read in the modern sense, especially if you're a woman, the latter sections have some interesting conversations about different philosophies, the combination between Greek and Christian imagery, and of course the Christian symbols themselves. I find the lamb particularly interesting, along with Adam and Eve towards the end, though that's definitely tainted by that whole just spoonful of sexism in the first half that you have to slog through. Told you it was going to be a shorter video. Our wrap up, just having gone quickly over these, gives you a sense that these texts definitely have more to offer than what would initially seem to be there. So I always encourage, go forth, read many things. My videos, of course, only are a part of what is here, and you should always take things with a grain of salt. But if you're interested in some texts, I would definitely recommend every single one of these for different reasons. So, what happens next? Well, as always, we're going to take a bit of a break. Keep an eye out on the channel for an announcement video for Book and Page Season 3, or we might actually go a little retro. All of this started with HP with a BA, my exploration of the Harry Potter novels. I'm thinking that another series might be coming along. So, like I said, keep an eye out for those videos, but for now I'll take a bit of a break and continue on with my normal uploads on Fridays. So, until then, I'm gonna keep reading and I'll see you later.